Hey guys, welcome to Massive Iron Live. Welcome to Friday. It is Friday, October 25th. We're almost to Halloween. We're almost to that season where everyone's putting up their ho-ho Santa stuff. How you guys doing? Welcome to Massive Iron Live. If you're new here, I'm here every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, the longest running lifting podcast in the history of the universe. Q&A podcast, who knows, whatever you want to call it. I don't really define it. I just show up, answer questions, we talk lifting, etc. I appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. If you are new here, don't hesitate to post questions. If you are late to the party and watching it on a replay, you can head over to Instagram at Ben the Barman, DM me, and I will answer your questions. So how's everybody doing? I hope you guys had a productive week of training. My training is going really, really well right now. Probably the best it's been going from a muscle building standpoint in a long time. I'm really focusing on muscle building right now. Not that I'm not focusing on strength, but I'm just getting back to my roots, my power building roots of trying to push every set hard, trying to get the most I can. I'm pretty much at my strongest, as strong as I've ever been, and I am age 57, so I'm happy to say that. I don't feel 57. I have a few minor, injuries and things, but who doesn't, right? So anyway, a couple things before we get started. It's been an interesting week with the whole Mike Van Wyck thing going on and Jeff Nippard. One of the things that I was thinking about as this video was loading, or the music was playing, like the introduction music is actually something I wrote, and wrote way back when, I don't know, like 28 years ago. And I just happened to have it on tape, and we re-recorded it. And you get a lot of transient people. I made a video about Jeff and Mike Van Wyck for those of you guys that don't know the story. And one of the interesting things is you get a lot of transient viewers when you post drama videos. Not that that's an inherently bad thing, because people get exposed to your content, but you get transient viewers. And one of the comments was just simply, "I hate this music. I'm never coming back." I'm like, wow, we can't win, right? So anyway, that's my story. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the Van Wyck and Jeff Nippard thing. If you want some entertainment, head over to my Instagram at Ben the Barman, and check out I posted the video way back early. I was one of the first people to cover the story, and I posted the video on my Instagram, and it literally has like 10,000 likes. The comments in there are just a war zone. So, you're looking at this whole Mike Van Wyck thing and Jeff Nippard thing, and the comments are they can just get brutal. It's pretty shocking. So anyway, real quick before we get started, I just want to make you guys aware that my new book, Massive Omnibus, is out. It's 2,000 pages already. You can head over to Super Living Today and search Omnibus. I put together the structure for the last few books, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and I'll be working on those. Those will all be done by Black Friday. So if you want a lot of content for a reasonable price, just search Omnibus. I literally have 2,000 pages of lifting content in there alone. And if any of you guys would like coaching is what I do for a living, check out the coaching tab. I'd like to get you in before Black Friday starts, because by Black Friday I get pretty full, and then the New Year's hits and I really can't take on any new clients because I'm pretty jam-packed. So if you're interested, check that out. All right, enough babbling. Let's get on to the stuff. Let's get on to the questions. Again, please Don't hesitate. Post up your questions. I want your questions. Massive Iron World, the world of Massive. I think this is the first time you were first and you win the trophy. Right. Martin Kleineman, happy Freaky Friday, you beautiful people. Yes, sir. We're going to a Halloween party this weekend, and I'm dressing up as Art the Clown. I'm not even kidding. Real quick, before we dive into things, I want to show you what my costume looks like. And you guys can let me know. I don't know if you guys are dressing up in any Halloween costumes. Let me know what you're dressing up as. Just give me 1 second. I'll show you what my costume looks like. I just have to scroll. Here we go. I found the old copy image address. This will only take a second. I just happened to see an Art the Clown costume at Spirit World or whatever it's called. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to do the old. So that's me with my Art the Clown little fancy hat and sunflower glasses and my big 3,000 inch neck. So, all right, enough about that crap. Steve, give me your top 5 classic horror movies, ideally ones you haven't seen. Martin is pretty big as far as movies. So, oh, wow, that you haven't seen. This is a tough one. Man, I'd have to think about that for a while. If you guys have any favorite horror movies that you feel other people haven't seen, post them up. I don't even know where I would begin there because I'm a big horror movie fan. But I have to think about that one. I'll think about that one. How is the hard copy of the condensed omnibus coming along? I will have the other books done probably within 2 to 3 weeks. And then I'm going to try to condense the main new information into about a 500-page book, all the main stuff, all the main programming, and that sort of thing. So it's definitely in the cards. I need to have it done by Black Friday because Black Friday is really the big sales day for everyone. And I'm going to jump to a comment. Whoops, wrong one. This is from a client of mine. Just an observation. This is on the whole Mike Van Wyck, Jeff Nippert situation. Has exposed the lack of not jumping to assumptions epidemic that social media has become. One of the interesting things, I watched the whole video, and I don't really have an intelligent, a commentary on this other than I saw Mike Van Wyck walk in and walk past Jeff, and they exchanged something. And in that exchange, regardless of the words exchanged, we can tell they have a history. Anybody, that I think it's reasonable to say they have a history, you can tell, and they both train in the same gym. So the interesting thing to me is not specifically what took place, and I'm not condoning violence in any way. I'm not. I'm not at all. What I'm saying is you can tell they have a history, and that part of the whole equation is, one might say it just goes back to their recent videos that they made about each other, and the video Jeff made about Van Wyck. I think the history goes back much, much deeper than that. And we can't really say, we're not a fly on the wall. I certainly would like to know the whole story as a fly on the wall. I'll just kind of leave it at that. Andy, how's it going? Andy from Team Massive. If any of you want to join the Team Massive Discord group, check my recent videos in the description box. There is a link to the Discord group. Come on over, join us. What do you think about Alex? We got a good one here. What do you think about Alex Eubank going on TRT at such a young age? We were discussing this on Team Massive this morning. First off, I have a couple thoughts. And I don't know a lot about Alex, but I was filled in from folks on Team Massive. Number one, I want to state, and this comes from my experience and talking to reputable people in the industry that are on TRT and TRT plus. And this is going to be a generalization, but for your education, you can do with it what you want. First off, I don't care what anybody uses. I'm a lifter. I love lifting. My love is with the iron. My love is with hard work. My love is with training, right? Everything else, beyond that, I'm not passionate about. I don't care. I grew up watching Arnold. I grew up watching Lou. It doesn't bother me that they took things because, in the bigger picture in this society, we have bigger problems in my mind. We have so many issues with drug abuse and, just social problems that if it's not hurting anything, alcoholism and all kinds of things, I just don't really care. I don't really care what other people are doing. It's none of my business, right? I just don't have an opinion because I don't care. So anyway, talking to people, and from my understanding, and actually talking to doctors that are involved in wellness and hormonal therapy in general, wellness therapy, if you will, because it goes far beyond just hormone replacement. TRT, there's TRT and there's TRT plus, okay? So if your testosterone levels are struggling a little bit, and we're not going to talk specific numbers, and you take TRT, they're going to probably end up in the mid to high natural range, what is physiologically natural or normal. That's a reasonable statement. And obviously, everyone's going to be different, right? Everyone's going to be different. And some people they're going to see their TRT levels jump more or their testosterone levels jump more, some less. Some they're going to see their testosterone levels jump up and their free testosterone levels not quite as high. So there's a spectrum, obviously. But TRT of about 100 to 200 milligrams a week or 50 to 200 milligrams a week is generally going to keep people in the natural physiological ranges. 200, you're getting up to about 200, and you might be pushed up a little bit. Now, if you start with normal testosterone levels, reasonably average, above average, and you take a bump, you're probably going to go above what's considered physiologically normal. If you start getting into the world where you're taking 250, and I don't know Alex's age, but he's a young man, and I assume he has average or slightly above average testosterone levels. If you're going to take 250, it's going to push you into super physiological levels or supernatural levels. I would say he's going to end up with about, my guess would be 1,200 to 1,500 if you checked his testosterone levels. So it's going to push him up. Now, some people on Team Massive have commented about how he used to go after non-naturals. I don't know anything about that. I'm just going on their opinion, and you guys can fill me in if you want. Everybody has a right to evolve and change, but I will say, if this is the case, and I don't know, I'm going off of opinions, if somebody makes a big fuss over this and then they flip, it's rather interesting to me. I kind of wonder if there was always a little bit of jealousy. I don't know, Alex. I don't watch his content. That's just my knee-jerk reaction. So I just don't know. Somebody told me that he's never done a bulk. I find curious because I've been around a lot of serious bodybuilders in my day. I've trained with IFBB pros. I've trained with. They used to come to Tiger Fitness and Muscle and Strength, where I was content editor. I've trained with and met with a lot of these guys, and a lot of them sat in my office, and a lot of them, candidly, we have discussed things. And these guys take nutrition very, very seriously. I don't think I've ever met a pro or a professional level natural or enhanced bodybuilder, fitness model, um, men's physique, whatever you got going on, even women's physique, or excuse me, women's, the fitness classes and figure classes. I don't know any of them, natural or not natural, that don't take nutrition almost equally or more seriously than they do their training. So, again, I don't know anything about Alex's nutrition beyond the fact that somebody said he has never bulked. But I will say, Alex aside, if somebody's going to jump on to the point where they're having super physiological or supernatural testosterone intake and then levels and so on and so forth, you better take your nutrition seriously. You better get your calories and you better have some structure, some focus. So maybe somebody can fill me in more on that. All right, we got the one eye. Have you ever beaten someone in the gym like Van Wyck? And what did you think about it? No, I don't usually beat people in the gym. I've yet to beat anyone in the gym. In fact, I usually find that the longer I'm in the gym, the more cordial everybody becomes and friendly. And I've never actually seen tension like that in the gym. So what I find interesting about that is the fact that they have an escalated level of tension. Is what it is. The drama wheel keeps turning. Rico from Team Massive. How's it going, Rico? Good morning. The news is, what is the news? Not a lot of news. My training is going good. My chest is sore, and I had a good back workout. Big Joe B, client of mine from Team Massive. How's it going, Big Joe? And Harris from Team Massive. Good to see you, Harris. We missed you this week. Pop in this weekend when you have time. Shelly from Team Massive, a client of mine. Good morning, Team Massive. Live in OHP. Does it get any better than that? Well, it could if you had cheesecake in the mix or potentially a wait staff with bacon cheeseburgers for your post-workout. It could potentially get better than that. What's your preference on fruits like pomegranate? Sorry, eat or juice? I'm not a big juicing fan. Juicing, a lot of the nutrition and a lot of the good value of a fruit is found in the meat, not just the juice. The material of the fruit, the fiber, the fibrous content, the stuff that's not just reduced to the straight juice. So when it comes to like the pulp, they call it, when it comes to removing the pulp, and I'm not a big fan of that in any way, because that's where the good nutrition, the good fiber, all the good stuff are generally found. Like in an orange, that white kind of peely wheely stuff that you have, that's my scientific definition. I don't know what the heck it's called. I'm not a fruitologist. I don't spend my life obsessing with the biological names for the white peely wheely stuff on oranges, right? I don't have a damn clue. I'm an idiot, but I believe I heard that's where all the calcium of the orange is stored. So I'm not a big fan in general of removing the pulp from fruits. I think it contains, in my opinion, and from what I've read, a lot of the good nutrition. Then again, I don't know anything about a pomegranate. I've never eaten it. Never. It's not something we ate growing up. It's not something I ate as an adult. I love fruit. Peaches, plums, pears, apples, oranges. I don't like grapefruit. I'm okay with bananas. I just ate way too many when I was in my early bodybuilding years. I'm kind of over a lot of the early bodybuilding food, like bananas, like canned tuna, like that sort of stuff. I'm never over ramen though, man. About once a month, I just have to crack open 4 packs of ramen and just go old school and put some Frank's Red Hot in there. I don't know what it is. I used to eat a lot of that when I was just cheap food. When you're young and building muscle. I just absolutely can't get over my ramen addiction. Stein, how's it going, Stein? Welcome aboard. Let me get a drink here. We had one energy drink this morning, but I'm taking a drink of Diet Mountain Dew and get my yellow dye number 2 or whatever it is. Harris, in your recent HLM PDF, and for those of you guys that are unaware, this is free. You can go over to my website and search HLM, or go to the workout tab on my website, superlivingtoday.com. So it's free. You can go over to Instagram. You can get it for free as well. Excuse me. I saw delts mentioned separately from rear delts. Any reason for this? The delts are kind of an interesting muscle group in that you kind of have a compartmentalized nature to the delts because the movement patterns are slightly different from quads. On quads, you can do leg presses or squats or lunges, and it's going to basically hit all the areas of the quads to varying degrees, right? Same with chest. I mean, you can do incline, decline, but you're going to hit all areas of chest to a degree. On the delts, the thing that separates the delts from other major body parts is that when you do a lot of chest pressing, you're really going to target the front delts a lot. I don't know of any experienced lifters that have really good results that don't have naturally overdeveloped front delts without even working them. I'm not a big fan of working the front delts because they naturally grow from all the chest work. They naturally get plenty of stimulation. So, on the opposite side of the spectrum, you have the rear delts. If you're doing your lat pull downs and your pull-ups and your dumbbell rows and your pendlay rows and your seated cable rows and all your rows, your rear delts are going to get worked in the same way pulling as your front delts get pushing. So these are going to get a lot of direct work, okay? So this is why I compartmentalize things, because the side delt needs the most focus. But when you're doing overhead pressing, you're going to get the side delt and the front delt. When you're doing a machine overhead press, you're going to get the side delt and the front delt. You don't need to add in any more front delt work for that matter. Rear delts, they're going to get hit hard enough with rows and pulls. So they are actually, even though they're part of the delt, they're not going to get really worked with pressing, chest pressing, or overhead pressing, vertical or horizontal pressing. The front delts are during those movements. The rear delts really are not to a noteworthy degree. So we can't easily lump the delts all into the same category. Does that make sense? They're different functions because of where they are. They're kind of centrally located on the body. They're involved with pushing and pulling. They're involved with different types of movement patterns, the different heads. So they're a grouping of muscles that are called the deltoids, but each different area is involved in a different area of function because we have that pull, we have the horizontal pull and the horizontal press, we have the vertical pull and the vertical press. So all of these will hit the delts a little bit differently, pulling and pressing. I hope that makes sense. Top horror movie with zero blood. I had to pull this one out. That's a very good question. Top horror movie with zero blood. I'd like to see what you guys have to say. There's some movies I've seen that are pretty darn scary that aren't popular. I'd have to think about this. I would have to think about this. Does Alien or Aliens count? We have a lot of splattering, but it's mostly aliens. Signs. Paul said Signs. That would be a good choice. Signs is a classic, in my opinion. Definitely horrifying, very, very tense, and I don't think it has any blood. It's one of my favorites. That's definitely at the top of the list. Boy, I'd have to think about that. Leroy said the others. There are some really good movies that don't have blood, but man, you guys are throwing some good questions my way. I'd have to think about that. Where are we? Adonis. Following a program after 12 weeks of base building volume, I've had 2 weeks completely off. Would it be reasonable to head into the peaking phase for a 1 rep max? If you are more than 10 days out from a squat or a bench workout, you're going to need to do a break-in workout at about 10% lower. And then you could start a peaking phase. You could absolutely. But if you're more than 10 days out from doing the squats or the bench, I would have a 10% week just to make sure the connective tissue is up to speed. And then I would slowly ramp up from there. Happy Friday, Massive Iron. I've been doing barbell bent over rows recently, but it's been giving me lower back pain. Not unusual. The dumbbell row and the barbell row and the pendlay row can give you a lot of lower back stress. The biggest thing, a couple things to unpack here. Number one, you need to understand that there's a good chance your lower back might simply be weaker. If your lower back is fully recovered by the time you get back to this workout or movement pattern again, then you're okay, because there's going to be a period of time where your lower back needs to get up to speed. With that said, there might be some benefit of reducing the amount of sets on anything that is tearing up your lower back to kind of mitigate the damage a little bit. Also, I would highly suggest joining Team Massive or letting me look at form, because how we perform these exercises can have a dramatic and noticeable impact on the lower back stress. If your head is bobbing around while you're doing a bent over row and it's dipping down, where your head goes, your body follows. So if you're doing a row and your head starts to dip down as you're pulling, when your head moves down, it's going to transfer stress to the lower back, if that makes sense. Let me look at form. Talking movies, what did you think of Alien Romulus? I thought it was a brilliant addition to the series. Probably my favorite movie beyond Alien and Aliens. I appreciate all of them. I don't think there is a bad space movie. For me, there is not a bad space movie. It took a lot of the classic feel and a lot of the classic styling and universe, and it gave us kind of a fresh take. I was skeptical because everybody was young. The acting was amazing. They didn't act like a bunch of young nitwits running through the forest in a slasher movie, which I was kind of a little bit nervous about, that it was going to turn into something like that. But it couldn't have been any different than that. Is it perfect? No. Is it 90% perfect for me? Yeah, absolutely. There are some minor things I would have changed. Like one thing that irritates me is like the alien starts out, like the size of your fist. And then like in the next scene, it's the size of my body. And then in the next scene, it's the size of the wall, right? And you're like, whoa, slow down, feller. What are you eating, right? I don't understand a lot of that. But outside of suspending disbelief on that, it was definitely a 90% movie. If I'm pushing 1 out of 3 sets for maximum safe quality reps, when doing two both should be max safe reps, or one is fine. Take it on an exercise by exercise basis. Okay. Not every set needs to be pushed for maximum safe quality reps for there to be some value in what you're doing. I mean, think of Dorian Yates. He would do some ramping work. I've been doing some ramping work lately. On bench press, I wanted to save time this week, so I did bar by 10, 135 by 10, 185 by 10, 225 by 10, and then I did 275 for max reps. That's okay. You don't have to do that on every exercise. As long, I want you to remember this, as long as you have one hard set on every exercise, you have a progression approach and you're attacking it on that exercise, you're in a good place, right? Some people like to make blanket rules that anything else is just junk volume. That's not true. What I do on things like lat pull downs and seated cable rows is I only do the last set for maximum safe quality reps. But I assure you, every rep is super focused and we're getting a lot of good tension and stress and fatigue out of the two sets before it. As that last set continues to move up, it's going to pull up those first two sets. So you're getting in some good additional volume that isn't punishing. So that's perfectly okay. We have to be willing to not try to create arbitrary rules and see the bigger picture. Even people that think, like when I was doing 10 by 10 on bench, I got up to 260 or 265. Some people were very reactionary, like the first 9 sets are junk volume. Like you have to feel some things. You have to open your mind to the fact that not everything needs to be pushed to the limit for it to have an overall cumulative impact on growth and stimulation. Growth and stimulation are bigger than that, and we need to be reasonable. Obviously, if you're in the gym and none of your sets are ever pushed for maximum safe quality reps, you're not going to get muscle and strength out of that. But we have to be able to look at the bigger picture, and that's one of the things we kind of miss in the modern landscape. We miss nuance. I posted a video, which was a clip from last week's live about the art of training, and this really speaks to the art of training. We have to open our mind to nuance. We have to open our mind to feel. We have to move beyond just I have a rule, right? A rule is just a starting point. But the art of training, or how things are, the bigger picture, the bigger feel, that is the most important thing. So we have to be really careful of people that make blanket rules like, if every set isn't pushed to failure, it's a junk volume. That is a big steaming pile of horse crap. It is, because that person does not understand the nuance of hard training, does not understand the bigger picture. And I would wager to say anybody that's making statements like this is either not training hard or is trying to live in a world of dogma, because they're more worried about pushing one set for failure or worried about pushing their dogma than they are about being reasonable. Training should give you freedom. You can pretty much train any way you want as long as hard training is in the mix and progression is in the mix. That's the beautiful thing. That's the freedom of training. And anybody trying to pull you away from that is, quite frankly, full of shit. And you can quote me, because they're either just trying to get you in their little dogmatic world, or they really don't have any concept or willingness to understand the bigger picture. Let me get a drink. All right. On power shrugs, how do I standardize my reps? How do I know when to increase weight? A power shrug isn't a reckless shrug. It is a focused but slightly more explosive shrug. So a mind muscle shrug goes like this. And I just did my shruggies yesterday. Okay. It is definitely Diet Mountain Dew. I don't do sugar drinks. Here is a shrug. Here's what I did yesterday. Up, hold briefly, down, controlled, control up, hold briefly, down. Now, power shrug, you're going to dip a little bit. You're going to dip the weight about an inch, and then you're going to power it up. Dip about an inch, power it up. Okay? That's a power shrug. They're not that much different. Okay? Standardized shrug, up, controlled, hold, controlled down. Controlled up, hold, controlled down. I know I look like a dipshit, but a power shrug, you kind of dip forward a little bit, an inch or two, power up. Dip forward an inch or two, power up. It's just a little bit different. You increase reps, you're going to have a max rep set. However you have that structured. And when you hit your progression indicator, you need a progression indicator. And when you hit that progression indicator, then you move up. How do you know you hit failure when you're unable to power things up and you lose speed? If you're doing this, dip a little bit, power up, and then you dip a little bit and you kind of stall, you are losing speed. On a pull, when you lose speed, that's when you are basically at form failure on that lift. Big Justin Jones, good morning. Appreciate you joining in. I asked too many questions on here before. I'm all out, no problem. Just reload and come back when you can. Dodgers or Yankees, who's winning the World Series? Major League Baseball is really doing a good job of trying to saturate the world with Shohei Ohtani for good reason, right? I don't really, I consider this a classic matchup, not just because it's the Yankees and the Dodgers, but you have Judge and you have Ohtani, and you have some really classic matchups. I like it for the history of baseball. I don't have a preference. I just want to see a good series. Blaine, eating 4,000 calories a day and it isn't enough. Weight is going down. Lifts are going up. Yes, you should be worried. Lifts are a testament to your effort, but we still need to maximize and get the most muscle growth we can out of that. So yes, you should be worried, and yes, we should be finding ways to eat more. Absolutely. I'm not force feeding, but my work has been crazy. I understand. And you're going to have to resort to things that can add calories, whether it's ice cream, whether it's Doritos, whether it's a big 400-calorie protein bar. To get the results we want, we're going to have to do what it takes, regardless of how we feel. And I'm not being critical. I'm sure you can appreciate that. But yes, it makes me nervous. I want you to eat more. We need to find a way. Adding heavy cream to a protein shake, adding cheese and sour cream to a meal, some way to add 200, 300, 400 calories. I mentioned this on my Insta stories yesterday, and someone got kind of nervous that we were adding in some unclean foods, or I mentioned a possibility of some unclean foods. We need to be okay with that. We need to relax on that, because the rest of the world is relying on processed food and fast food and junk food and all that kind of stuff. We, as health concerned individuals, are not relying on that, but it can be our 10, 20, 30% if our goal is to build mass. Does that make sense? Because then we are really taking care of ourselves, and we're adding in a little bit of calories for calories' sake just to get the mass needle moving. Cosmic Bear. I made a post yesterday, and it's referencing this. Your post about fewer sets versus more volume. As I get older, I'm preferring the more volume approach. As you go closer to failure, how do you determine how hard to go on the other sets? Well, it's really exercise dependent. The stronger you get, the more punishing it can become to take more sets per exercise to failure. So there's a spectrum, and there's a lot of nuance here. It can be strength dependent. It can be exercise dependent. It can be preference dependent. You just like to take only one lift to failure or one set to failure on a specific lift. So we need to allow ourselves to be artists in that sense. We need to allow ourselves to have the flexibility to adjust based on preferences, as long as we, number one, have a progression approach in place. Number two, are chasing that progression approach at least 80% of the time. We can't always be superheroes 100% of the time. And that we're trying to get the most out of our sets. And we're not beating up our body to the point where we can't reasonably recover and train again next time. Does that make sense? Barbell Beauty from Team Massive, welcome aboard. All right, guys, we're about 40 minutes in. I'm going to roll on. As long as you guys have questions, keep your questions coming. I will stay on as long as you guys have them. Hopefully, I won't run out of Diet Mountain Dew here. I'm thirsty today for some reason. And let's see what we got. Noel on a client of mine. What does the transition from a cut to bulk look like? When you are in a cut and you just had maybe a muscle building period before it, or you didn't, you're really not sure, and you've never done a proper bulk before, we have to kind of have a reset period. So I'm not getting into any fancy reverse dieting, but what we want to do for 5 days, and this is just my approach, we can vary this if we need to. It's not a rule. You eat for 5 days about where you think maintenance is, and you weigh yourself every day, first thing in the morning. You're probably going to see a little bit of a weight increase just due to increased carbs and electrolytes and just food mass in your body, but then it should level off. And from there, we can start to make micro adjustments at 100, at 150, maybe pull back 100. We can start to really zero in from there. There is a zeroing in or focusing period, I guess you would say, but it needs to be reasonable. I'm not for a fan of just jumping way over where I think I should be and going into like a 300 to 500 calorie surplus immediately and then having to pull back. I'd rather just slowly ease into things over a week to 2 week period. If someone wants to do a simple power building program, can they just do the same weight for heavy compounds each week? You can do whatever you want as long as you have a progression approach. You can use any method that's reasonable, that's not punishing you, that you can recover from. Any structure of workouts, any workout structure, any structure of exercises, a reasonable selection of exercises that is working for you. Heavy compounds in the range of 1 to 5, we have to be careful with this because we can't apply the same strategy to every lift just because it's a compound. What I mean is that this would have a greater tendency to beat the living crap out of your body if it was an RDL or a good morning or a deadlift than it would a bench press. These are not equal lifts just because they're major compounds. A bench you can pretty much take to failure on every set without an issue. But when it comes to a deadlift, you really don't want to train above 87.5%. So the structure has to make sense, and we have to be willing to adjust it. Okay, does that make sense? If you want me to look at your program, all you have to do is send it over to Instagram at Ben the Barman. I can give you some general thoughts, or better than that, please join the Discord group. Big Derek, is there any single ladies in the chat looking for a it's actually, are there, Derek? Derek, it's, are there any single ladies in the chat? Please make yourself known. I'm just trying to help you out, because if you want to expand your horizons, you got to come with "are there." Just fun. Okay. Guys, 30 people watching, over 5 likes. We're up to 71. Thank you. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Steve, Buddy tweaked his shoulder benching. Any top 3 rehab movements if you have a strain, we don't really need rehab movements. What we need to do is look at any. I'm not saying rehab movements will be bad or are inherently bad or are completely unnecessary, but what we need to do more than anything is assess during warm-ups what exercises are bothering that shoulder and pull back on them with weight and or volume. If the strain is bad enough, we need to get rid of the exercise for a few weeks and watch for it to slowly improve and then ease back in. That's the real key, because strains are a part of this game. All right. I nearly passed out on the last set of deadlifts, not unusual. Was like a fish out of water. What breathing cadence do you use, or should I use? If you notice during a powerlifting meet, there's someone standing behind you, because this is not uncommon. You're bracing really hard, and this can sometimes lead to passing out. So you want to use the same bracing pattern. You take a big breath and brace, and then you initiate the pull. And during the execution of a rep, you allow the air to come out. What's happening is when you're bracing and exerting, you're causing your blood pressure to spike. And it can cause the body to react in unique ways. You can have a big spike in blood pressure sometimes that can cause the body just to want to physically shut down or pass out, because it's trying to prevent you from doing anything crazy. So big brace, breath, and then release it as you're executing the rep. I listened to Jeff's friends and I listened to Mike's friends. Now we're talking about Mike Van Wyck and Jeff Nippard and the old war to settle the score. As the saying goes, if you show me your friends, you show me who you are. That's a pretty fair assessment. Big Mike M, happy Friday. How's it going, Mike? Joseph, do you think creatine has any? Absolutely, creatine does. We are simply on the tip of the iceberg with creatine. There is information that shows that it has benefits for cognitive and brain function, and there's no downside to taking creatine. None whatsoever. It's reasonably inexpensive. Used to be more reasonable, right? But what isn't super expensive these days? So, yeah, absolutely. I would say over 40, that would be something you should strongly consider. Michael, how's it going, Michael? Welcome to the party. Trolls 2 is my favorite horror movie. I don't know that I've seen that one. They're eating her and they're not going to eat me. Oh my God, classic scene. I'll have to search that after we're done. Oh my goodness, I haven't seen The Thing. You need to watch the original, and you need to watch the what is it, 1981 version? Definitely a classic. Some of the special effects are dated, but it's a classic movie. Big Michael, how much does a complete chest development depend on the occlusion of different angles? I wouldn't say inclines and declines and variation are crucial, but I would say, I mean, you can build a big chest with just dips and dumbbell bench and barbell bench, and you don't need to go crazy, right? But there's no reason not to include some inclines, right? A little bit of variation is reasonable. A little bit of variety is reasonable. There's no downside to variety. You're going to be doing a bench press anyway. Why not alternate between an incline? If you're serious about mass, why not alternate between an incline and a bench? Why not alternate between an incline dumbbell and a flat dumbbell? Why not? There's no downside. You can do it every other week. This is what I did for quite a while. I would bench one week and then do incline bench the next. After I did bench press, I would then do incline dumbbell bench. On week 2, when I did incline bench, then I would do flat dumbbell bench. So I would vary it. Is it OCD, overthinking? I wouldn't really put it in that category. Having a reasonable selection, a reasonable variety of exercises, there's no downside to that for hypertrophy. Now, if somebody wants to do bench every day, flat bench, or every week, by all means, you don't need to include incline dumbbells. I don't necessarily include incline for all my clients because it is not essential. What is essential is a reasonable variety of exercises for each body part, if that makes sense. All right. My parents are around your age and refuse to go to the gym because they say you'll never know when you're going to die anyway. I'm not laughing at your parents. And you don't believe that working out can increase. Well, they are incorrect. Okay. Um, if you look at any of the research, the true health research, and I'm not laughing at your parents, I'm laughing at how people can get set in their ways, right? If you look at the health research, it's one of the best things, if not the best thing you can do for longevity and for overall quality of life. It's really not any more complicated than that. I would go to like Chat GPT and post this in. Let's do that live, shall we? I mean, I think we can do that live. It might be a fun little thing here. Let me just close the sidebar. I'm going to put in your question. Before I pull it up, I'm going to see what it spits out. So I want to make sure it's intelligent. Hold on one second. I'm going over the scroll. And what time was that? 11. Hang tough, guys. Hang tough. I'm going to post it in. I just want to see what it gives us. And there we go. I'm going to pull this up. We're going to take a look. I just asked the old AI because, I'm kind of over Google searching a little bit. I'm kind of a Chat GPT guy. Let's just get cut to the chase. Let's get the summary. So I'm going to remove the question, and we're just going to let it run. It's almost done. We'll look at some of the highlights, shall we? Why not? We're talking lifting. Let's explore it. I'm not going to go super in depth and waste 30 hours of your time. I'm just going to let it run its course, and we can look at the overview. And if any of you want the same thing, you can literally paste his question. All I did was paste his question in. I didn't ask for any more information. So you can see at the top, my parents are around your age, advice. It can be challenging to convince parents or older adults to start exercising. Here are a few suggestions. Focus on quality of life, not just longevity. It's not just about living longer. It's about feeling good, staying active. Obviously, lifting allows you to do that. Lifting provides mental stress, stress relief, and mental strength advantages. Tangible health benefits. Research has shown that moderate physical activity can reduce the risk of even small use studies to show life expectancy impact. Encourage them to start small. I was trying to work with your adults. How should we phrase this? What are the health and long, if I could type, longevity benefits of lifting? Give me a short and brief outline so we don't get 8,000 answers here. Let's just see. Muscle mass, which is going to increase your metabolism. improve muscle function, metabolic boost, bone density. That's a huge, huge, huge one. Improves cardiovascular health. Regular weight training can help lower blood pressure, improve heart health, heart's a muscle. Improves metabolic health, helps regulate blood sugar levels and the risk of type 2, Canadian fat loss and healthy body composition, promotes mental health, reduces reduces risk of chronic diseases, improves balance and reduces fall risk, and enhances longevity. So there is a whole, I mean, you could put together an encyclopedia of the health benefits of strength training. Long story short, and I'm not trying to, get you in trouble with your parents, but they are wrong. And they're just being a little bit stubborn. That's okay. You can't force them to do something. And if they don't like to do it, but you see benefit, all you can really do is love them and be a good person. Paul from Team Massive. How's it going, Big Paul? Thick Daddy McClown Mine said Mike is for what he did, true, and can't be defended, but there's always two sides. There's always two sides. So you're absolutely right. There's always two sides, and nobody stands up, for stupid violence in a gym. But we can tell they had a history. And, anybody that doesn't think they have a history, people can grate people. That doesn't mean we should punch them, right? Or throat punch them, but you're absolutely right. I'm going back to free weights after using machines for a month. I sprained my wrist. Do you have any tips? If you had a wrist issue, I would get some really light wrist wraps just for support. Barbell provides the most stability. Dumbbells are going to have a little bit more movement, like a dumbbell overhead and a dumbbell bench. I would just start light. I would ease into things. I'm not telling you not to do dumbbells, but the key after an injury is to go slow and steady and not to rush, to let the weight return to you rather than pushing the weight, if that makes sense. I've recently been feeling like I lift more because I have to, or else my gains will shrivel away, rather than because I'm generally passionate. Any words of motivation? You don't need to lift more. Okay? You need to lift better. More is not the solution. Burdening yourself by doing physical activity you don't enjoy is not a good thing. We don't need more. We need a reasonable degree of better. And a reasonable degree can generally be a lot less than we think over the long run. If you train 3 days a week for 10 years and you train hard and you're only in the gym for an hour, you're going to be huge. You're going to absolutely get tons of mass and tons of strength. More is not inherently better. Better is better. Whenever we look at a workout, we want to ask ourselves, how do I maximize the time? Right? That's the key. Do what you love in a manner that you love, as long as it plays by the rules. Okay? That's my biggest piece of advice for you. Don't waste your time in life doing anything you don't enjoy. With a caveat. If you don't enjoy brushing your teeth, for the love of all things holy, brush your damn teeth. If you don't enjoy flossing your teeth or showering, please do those. There are some things in life we have to do that take care of the body, or that don't become an irritant to other people, because no one wants to smell your breath or your armpits or your butthole or whatever. No one wants to take the financial burden of you not paying your bills. Or being a slack ass in society. So there are some things you should do as a responsible adult, but in the gym, it's different, right? Just do the things you love as long as they play by the rules. Bees mongoose. How aggressive do you cut? As aggressive as sustainable. There's no downside to a slightly more aggressive cut. Some people fear muscle loss. Oh no, I'm going to lose muscle. Number one, even if you lost a trivial amount of muscle memory is a real thing. It's going to come right back. Your muscle cells have been fortified. Extra mitochondria, things are going to come back to normal. Muscle memory is real. Number two, the body is not that fragile. It's really hard to lose muscle mass as long as you're training. And, you just got to remember, because of that, even if you were to lose a little bit of muscle, it's not gone forever. It would be trivial amounts. So the key thing during a cut is to get the cut over with. We need to get the cut over with so we can move back to good things, but we need it to be sustainable. Does that make sense? Behind the neck or BTN presses hit rear delts very good. I would say they hit rear delts to a okay degree. I wouldn't say they're enough to build massive rear delts because of the pressing plane you're involved in. What are your thoughts on cambered football barbell for bench row? I have no issues with it at all. I have many clients that use it. Having a neutral grip is perfectly fine. I find having a neutral grip on rows and bench is no downside. So I don't have any issues with it at all. Paul says ramen and sausages, stick pork rinds, cheese whiz, Louisiana hot sauce plus Cheetos. Make that a nice spread. Paul's getting me all hungry and riled up here on a Friday. Definitely LOL. All right. Good morning, Team Massive. I've uploaded a new clip on the form check tab. I will check it out. I appreciate that. Anybody that wants to come join us on the Discord group, there's a form check tab where you can get assistance. First time I start to do behind the neck, I don't doubt that at all. It's definitely more involved, I would say, in a BTN press, rear delts, than a front press. With that said, I still would add in a rear delt exercise each week. What do we got here? I get tailbone pain when squatting. I would like to see your squat, because a lot of times we become obsessed. I'm going to get the Discord. I'm going to get a fresh Discord link because somebody's saying it's not working. I'm going to post it in. I'm going to post it in the comments section of this live video right now. Just hold on a second. I got to do so without creating a stir or a ruckus or chaos. So just hold on. I'm going to try to do it without having the almost a commercial pop up. And why can't I leave a comment on my own video? Well, that is really silly. Hold on one second. Let me just try to refresh this. I'm trying to drop a comment down below, and it won't allow me to leave a regular. Okay. I'm just going to put this in, and we'll get on with life. Where do we go? I'm going to get back to the Ask the Grass question real quick. Here is the Discord link, okay? If you need it, you can hit me up on the Instagram app and the barman, and I'll send it to you. Just take that screenshot real quick. Ready? 1, 2, 3 seconds, go. And it's going to stay in the chat window. So let's get back to the Ask the Grass squats, because this is an always interesting topic. There can be an over-focus on going ass to grass on squats, like somehow going as deep as possible is the holy grail. It's rather arbitrary. You want to go as deep as you can while maintaining tightness. If you go too low, you have a tendency to experience butt wink when you're pushing to go really low, okay? And then you can lose that lower back tightness and pick up a lot of lower back stress. So you want to go as low as comfortable on the squat. And don't become obsessed with going super ATG as low as possible, being a superhero, because there's a chance the pain you're picking up is from that. I just noticed that when I was talking about this, you can see my watch mark. This is what happens when I wear a fitness watch and I'm sweating. I get kind of this mark. I switched it over to this left hand this week so it could heal up a little bit, but never fails. What's your take on the kettlebell what the hell effect? There's a lot of stories when people get big deadlifts from kettlebell swings. Strength always adds to strength, but I don't know of anybody that's going to get a big deadlift from kettlebell swings. I'm not saying kettlebell swings. Somebody's going to get their undies in a bundy here. And I need you to hear me out, and we need to be reasonable. Big barbell rows, big dumbbell rows, anything is going to contribute to overall strength on the deadlift, pretty much anything. But doing a lot of kettlebell swings isn't going to inherently build a massive deadlift. I think there's a little bit of hyperbole here. I mean, if you take the heaviest kettlebell you can do and you do like 2 hours of swings a day over a long run, maybe that'll bump your deadlift up 75 pounds. I don't know. But the time investment would be a little bit ridiculous. I have no problem with you including it into a reasonable program, but it's not going to be magical. I would just ignore the hype. You need time to work on your quads and your upper back and all the different areas of the body that contribute to a big deadlift, if that makes sense. Big Eric, as always, appreciate the energy you're investing in weekly lives. Thank you, sir. Like that there are so few viewers. Saw a Q&A from Natural Hypertrophy and the chat was constantly spammed with weird things. I have a pretty tight filter on here, yeah, so I don't know. I've been doing this for a while, and my channel will never be big. But I appreciate each and every one of you. We're going to do what we do. We don't need to be big to be effective, right? And, I'm not here for numbers. I always wish that I could reach more people. But, I'm just glad to help you guys. We're going to build an army of people doing the right things, and we're going to speak the truth. And we're not going to do so with a bunch of shenanigans. And it is what it is. We're going to be real in a world of a bunch of phonies and fakes and people sticking their ass in the cameras and doing stupid ass influencer shit. They can do all the stuff they want to do. I want to lift some heavy ass weights and get some juicy muscle and some juicy strength. Maul, how's it going? Any tips for people that need... You're going to have to probably have maybe upwards of 30% of your calories from the junkier side of foods, maybe like French fries and a big, nice vanilla shake, right? And maybe some sugar calories. I hesitate to do that, but you might have to do that. You just might have to have a sugar drink. You want about 70% of your calories from real foods, but you're going to need to add in some fattier foods, some avocado, some sour cream, some cheese, fattier cuts of beef, just things that make it a little bit easier to add calories outside of carbs, if that makes sense. If you need help, just reach out. Any considerations for bulking and cutting once you reach the age of 40? Bulking is definitely not a young man's game. I have a lot of clients over the age of 40 that are just doing the same bulking and cutting protocol and crushing it. Shelly on here is a female that may or may not be over 60. She's a client of mine. And we're doing a bulking cutting protocol. Mass is the same game. As long as your weight is reasonable, we want to use a reasonable, non-aggressive approach. Everything we do for bulking is non-aggressive, so it's safe for anyone at any age, as long as your weight is in a reasonable and healthy level. So have you ever had times where 1 week you felt like you're getting strong on a lift and the following week your rep count on one or all yours? Oh, absolutely. Every month of my life, my friend. The body can't be predicted. You could hit a +2 on bench 1 week and then a -1 the next, and it can drive you crazy. But that is why we always have to focus on hard training and getting the most out of sets. The strength will always come over the long run, but in the meantime, the graph is going to go like this, right? And your weight's going to go like this, and it'll drive you crazy. But we have to watch for the trends of the weight, and we have to watch for the cumulative progression of strength. With strength, once you gain a rep, it's yours forever. Even if you temporarily lose it, you're going to get it back 100% of the time, unless you're doing something ridiculous. That better be Diet Mountain Dew. We got the old Diet, the Diet Mountain Dew in the old glass of love. All right. Don't know why, but power shrugs with cables feel much better. Doesn't matter. Do what you want to do, man. I mean, you can use hex bar shrugs. You can use Smith shrugs. You can use dumbbells or barbells. I have jammer arms, which I really like. You can use whatever works good for you. Because last I've hit 6 reps in all 3 sets of bench last week, but this week I've hit only 6 reps and 4. Don't worry about it, man. Stay in the game, keep your nutrition nailed, and everything will be fine. Hello, greetings. Welcome to Planet Massive Iron. I felt very well on 300 milligrams of TRT after 6 months. I had to increase it to 500, and now after 5 months, I feel normal again. I'm not a TRT person. That's not my expertise. I was just giving general advice from my experience, and everybody's different. So that's something you need to talk to your doctor about. Alex Bromley has made a video about the behind the neck press. Is this worth doing? And should we? It's worth trying. I did it for the first 20 years of lifting. I actually had a video, if you want to see fat me doing it. Hold on a second. I did it for the first 20 years of lifting, basically. Might have been 22 years of lifting. And it was the meat and potatoes of my shoulder work. The issue is that as you got bigger, more mass, older, sometimes it becomes harder to do. You just don't have the flexibility. You don't have, it just doesn't feel good, doesn't feel natural. So I'm going to try to show you guys, I'm going to try to show you guys the BTM press. Just give me a second here if I can get this. Okay, I just want to get in theater mode so we didn't have any unwanted ads or crap like that. So let me present, share screen. This, I think, is one of the only videos I have of me doing the BTN press. And this, I believe, is rest pause. Rest pause, 230 pounds by 333. I was trying to do threes, 6 sets of 3, I believe, in advance all the way to 6 sets of 3s. I was trying to advance all the way to 6 sets of 3. So that's how I would unrack. The seat is pretty upright. I'll try to bring the bar right to the top of the ear level. Okay, right there. You want to check your elbows relative to your shoulders. You can see the elbow is well below the shoulder, and that's really all you need. We're not after depth. You know, you can go as deep as you feel comfortable. We don't want to beat up the shoulders. but you want to check to make sure your elbows are below the shoulder level, right? That's a good depth for the BTN press. And you want to have your wrists about over your elbows in the hole, give or take. You don't want your wrists outside of your elbows. Having them a little bit inside like they are here is okay, but at least a little bit inside or right over. That's just how I'd rack in the old ghetto dungeon. This rest pause style, I'm not sure how long I was resting. I would probably rest anywhere from 15 to 20, maybe 30 seconds. And then I would get right back under it and do another set. And I believe I started with the bar right at lower ear level, and on the reps, it would come to upper ear level. Nice and controlled down like you're loading a spring, nice and controlled up. So yeah, I contribute a lot of my base shoulder strength and building to the old BTN press. If 15 to 20 reps on squats causes lungs to fail before your legs, but not adding weight, if reps are getting easier on your lungs, the thing you have to understand is that on certain lifts where the bar is on your back, or or you're holding the bar off the ground, this is causing your heart rate to slowly increase. Okay. So this occurs on a squat, just having the bar on your back. Even if you didn't do any reps, your heart rate would slowly increase. Probably not slowly. If you're holding a weight in front of you, your heart rate's going to increase. If you're doing really heavy dumbbell rows for a long period of time, your heart rate is going to increase. So this is one of the things we have to be aware of on certain exercises. You can get taxed in a cardiovascular way that isn't a muscular way. We have to understand that. It's not going to improve. Your body's not going to acclimate to the point where you can just walk around with a heavy weight on your back and never have your heart rate improve. So we have to work in that lane. We have to progress in that lane, if that makes sense. You can't really improve that. So you can't really improve your cardiovascular, your physiological ability to mitigate an increasing heart rate under these circumstances. You're going to have to focus on increasing reps in a safe zone for that lift under that stress. Does that make sense? Without encouraging risk of injury. What other overhead variations would you recommend to people that have a home gym on a low ceiling? A dumbbell overhead where the back is about 70 degrees. An Arnold press as a variation. A pin press, you can start with the weight right about here on the racks, and then I press up off the racks. I lower down. I don't go back onto the racks. That's a really good starting position. And you can do how I did in the video just previously, the BTN press. Big Joe coming with the bacon. Bacon is a great high-calorie food, low-volume food, absolutely. And you can make a bacon and bacon sandwich where you use bacon as the bread and then put bacon as the meat, and then you put a lot of cheese on top of the bacon, and you can have a bacon and bacon sandwich. Watched a video from you about 10 months ago where you said go hard on every set, and then another about 3 months ago where you said training every set. No, I never said training every set is dumb. I would never say training every set to failure is dumb. That's something I've never said on this channel. I think you're misinterpreting things. And I mean that respectfully. What is dumb is trying to train every exercise to failure and treating them all equally. Okay. That is what is dumb. The demands of every exercise are different. Okay. So if you were going to try to train 3 sets of squats to failure, that would be dumb because that would be punishing. What is dumb is when a trainer or a coach tells you to push every set to failure on every exercise. That is dumb, okay? Because that is a blanket arbitrary statement, right? The demands of every exercise are different. We don't train to failure. That would be dumb. So that's the context that we're speaking about. You want to push sets for maximum safe quality reps, if that makes sense. So on a squat, that might be 2 to 3 reps away from failure. On deadlifts, that might be 2 to 3 reps away from failure. That's the context, so I hope that helps. You always want to maximize everything you can on every set, regardless of if you take it to the limit. But the problem I have is that when a coach tells you to do every set to failure, that is dumb, okay? Because we have to have context and nuance. There are sycophants, there are dogmatists, there are people out there that are so enamored with the concept of failure that they will just tell you to train every set to failure, missing the whole point that the demands of every exercise are different, and that if you train like Romanian deadlifts and posterior chain lifts to failure, you're going to beat up the body. Rowing exercises, generally no issue training all of them to failure or max safe reps. Presses, generally no issue. But we have to take it on an exercise by exercise basis. So when you have a coach that blanketly tells you to train everything to failure, they are ignorant of the fact that the demands of every exercise are different, and we have to allow ourselves the freedom to adjust. Does that make sense? Have you heard the news? We just talked about that earlier. Roll back a little bit to the beginning, and we covered that. Somebody asked if there was any sexy single women. Yes, I'm here. A lady, how much do you earn per month? Right. Is it a problem if the elbows are forward or the wrists coming down on overhead press? So generally, a lot of people don't understand why you have your seat back on an overhead press, because they get very alarmist. Oh my goodness, it's going to transfer a micro amount of stress to the front delts away from the side delts in the hole. OMG, I'm panicking. This isn't a good thing, etc. It is a good thing. The reason why we do that, and this is the same on a military press standing or a seated press. On a military press, you need to keep your wrists about over your elbows when the bar is right about here, okay? Seated standing doesn't matter. Wrists need to be above your elbows. If your wrists are forward of your elbows, you're going to get internal shoulder rotation, and you're going to have to fight to push back, and you're going to get a lot of weird shoulder stress. On an overhead press, when you are standing, you can lean back a little bit to keep your wrists over your elbows. We do this naturally. On a seated press, we're angling the seat back a little bit so we can do this because we're from a stable position. Does that make sense? So you want to have your wrists over your elbows. If they are not, to a small degree, it's okay. To a major degree, we're going to have to make some form of an adjustment. How can you tell if you've taken the bulk too far or if you're just getting nervous? If you're going over 3 pounds a month, you're getting too aggressive. If you just wake up every day and you're like, I feel fat, I feel fat, I feel fat. Feeling is different from tracking, from numbers, from reality. We have to at least be willing to understand that how we feel, we have to detach how we feel from what is actually happening. Does that make sense? So I feel fat because of a number on the scale? No. Am I bulking 2 to 2.25 to 2.5 pounds per month? And is it sustainable? Am I doing okay with that? Yes, then you're doing fine. Just stay on the bulk. There's nothing to be nervous about. The main reason I talk about starting with a 10-pound bulk is so that you don't get too far away from home base where you can't just do a quick cut. So if you're in that realm, you're perfectly okay. The boss of the bench press got a 425 bench yesterday. Nice job. That's monster level. Way to get it done. Big Wes Robinson. Thanks, Steve, for your answer. I appreciate it. I appreciate your support. As a beginner, should I be working? No. Don't worry about this stuff. We want to toss it out pretty much out of the massive iron world. Focus on the hard sets. Focus on a progression approach. Focus on taking the number of sets you want for maximum safe quality reps. This has no added value. It could be used in the proper context, but it's not my favorite tool, and I really don't feel it adds any value. Big Jack, what's your weekly volume look like? Usually, I'll tell you, I'll get my workout from yesterday because I don't specifically count sets. What I do is let me just get up my app here. What I do is I just end up working out for about an hour and 15 or sometimes 2 hours. Your next workouts. Where are we? I got to go to the calendar. Sorry, just give me a second. I'm trying to find the old calendar. Here we go. So yesterday I did ramping sets of stiff leg deadlifts up to one top set, but each one was a 5. So 4 warm-up sets of ramping with one top. T-bars, I did 2 working sets, really hard. The second one a failure. So 3 working sets so far. V-bar lat pull-downs, I did 3 working sets with the last a failure. That's 6. Seated cable rows, 3 working sets, last to failure. That's 9. Whoops. Dumbbell shrugs, 3 sets with the last to failure. That's 12. Reverse pec deck, 3 with the last to failure. That's 15. Reverse grip lat pull down, bicep focused, 2 sets to failure. That's 17. And seated dumbbell curls, standing dumbbell curls, 2 sets to failure. That's 19. So I did 19 total sets. That's usually about where I land, about 18, 16, 20. On your coaching for nutrition, you only work with calories, or can you also work with what we do is always client dependent. Some clients prefer macro targets, some prefer calorie targets. Everything is individually tailored to the client. Some clients don't want to count calories. We try to work on things to facilitate the ability to use that method, meaning consistent nutrition. We also watch the scale. If the weight isn't moving, and I tell somebody to eat more calories and the scale's not moving, then we might have to zero in. The bottom line is the scale doing what the scale needs to do? If not, we need to fix something. One thing we can't do is just say, I don't want to track calories, the scale isn't moving, and I don't want to do anything, because that's just going to leave you in a world of nonsense. So as long as you're willing to adjust, you're fine. All right. Did a heavy single of 295 on back squats. Next month I'll do 305. Good. That sounds reasonable. There's just allow yourself the freedom to ramp up by 5 pounds. A 10-pound jump can be pretty stapling at times. So what are we doing? Absolutely talking lifting. That's what we're doing. Is it dangerous to lean too far back on standing overhead press? Well, it can be if it's beating up your lower back. But the whole point of leaning back on an overhead press is to keep the wrists above your elbows in a good leverage position. So as long as you're doing that, you're fine. Do you think can do back and legs on the same day? No, you absolutely can. My upper posterior workout that many of my clients do has back and legs on the same day. Everything is about how it's structured for you, and you can adjust it based on your preferences. So you can absolutely do back and legs on the same day. You just have to adjust the exercise order so it is working for you, and you need to keep a reasonable amount of weekly volume, and you're good. Hello, good sir. I gained weight rapidly after a cutting phase. I'm going back to my deficit, but body isn't dropping weight. If you're not losing weight, the only thing you can do is increase the calories. I would make sure you're tracking. I would find your average calorie value, and then I would drop that by about 250 to 300. If you need help, come on over to the Discord link. I did post that down below or right here. And if you guys need it, you can hit me up on Instagram at Ben the Barman. I'd be happy to give you the link. All right, Benjamin. Are back extensions together with bent over rows enough for the posterior chain? The posterior chain is a grouping of muscles. It can mean your hamstrings, your calves, your glutes, to a degree, your hips, your lower back, your upper back, and your traps. So in that sense, no, you still have to look at everything from a muscle by muscle standpoint. Big Aaron Nelson made it. Thank you. Appreciate it. And if any of you guys try to join the Discord and it's not working, I always choose for them I always choose for it to give me a link that never expires, but they just seem to do so. But anyway, you can always get it from me on Instagram. Is a barrel press always done on an incline? No, most people do it on a flat. You can do it on a slight incline. It's really personal preference and what feels good for you on the chest, so it doesn't really matter. Done a lot of kettlebell work. Didn't hurt, but deadlifts, RDLs, deficits, and trap were really influenced. Right. I mean, everything is going to combine in a sense. We just have to be really careful of hyperbole. And there's a lot of stuff that goes like this on the internet. I added such and such an exercise, and my bench press deadlift exploded. Okay. Well, I doubt that. Nuts are a good source since they are calorie dense. Indeed. All right, guys, we've got about 5 questions left. This is a last call. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you have any more questions, get them in now. Tips for a 300-pound, 50-year-old man. You're going to die, and I mean this politely. I'll read the rest of your question, but then I'll explain. Do you lift and cut at the same time? What about going 200 grams of protein a day by mostly carnivore and then readjusting once weight loss stops? First off, your clock is ticking to the point where your main concern is that you're going to have to buy a pine box. And I say that because I care. Men over the weight of 240, 250 lose about 7 years off their life on average. These are pure longevity statistics. This is not opinion. Obviously, there's variance for physical health and conditioning. But either way, once you're over 240, 250, your body has to sustain that mass, pump blood throughout that body, and you are in the heart attack zone. Once you're at about 300 pounds, you're looking at losing 7 to 10, maybe 14 years off your life, depending on your condition and luck, etc. You don't have much time left. You want a better body. I get it. You absolutely have to lift. You don't wait until your cut is done. You have to continue that movement. You're going to build some strength. You're going to build some muscle. Your priority is staying above the ground. Your priority is avoiding the eternal dirt nap. So going mostly meat is a great thing. I would say a good starting point is meat and fruit, veg, more of the low glycemic, lower calorie choices. Things like fermented foods like sauerkraut. You want to get your protein above 35% of your daily intake at least. Get your fats to about 20%. That will, a lot of people like the higher fat diet. I have no problem with that, but hear me out. If you get your protein to at least 35% of your intake and you dial your fats down to 20 to 25% of your intake, you get more food volume. Now, if you want to do all carnivore, higher fat, whatever, and keep your fat intake up and you're losing weight, that's great. I don't care. But I do know as a coach, a lot of people struggle with the overall issue of food volume. So the information I just gave you will help you maximize food volume. You need to get this sorted. We need to get the weight down to 220, 230 ASAP. Come join Team Massive. Come join the Discord. Come sign up for coaching. Come do something. We're here to help. All right, where are we at? I've tried to incorporate the glutes back cue on RDLs and try not to bend my knees that much. Good. It's okay for the knees to bend to facilitate hamstring stress. It's just when we bend our knees at the bottom to lower the weight that we are not encouraging a hamstring stress. My tall buddy has a hard time squatting. He's about 6'4". Any suggestions? Any squatter, regardless of who they are, has to dial in things. So the biggest suggestion is to get a form video, to have somebody like me analyze it, and I'll analyze it for free. You don't need to pay me. Come over on my Instagram, slide in my DMs, or join Team Massive, post a form video. Every individual needs to dial in their squat, regardless of who they are. So you need somebody to help you with that, and I'd be glad to help. Other than that, it's just a guessing game. What do you think about antidepressant effects of acetylcarnitine? I don't know anything. I would have to check Examine it's not in my wheelhouse for the latest research, because anytime anybody asks me a question like this, I'm going to go to examine.com and search. So let's do the thing we did before and have a little fun, because we got time. We're not going anywhere. We don't want to work. We want to talk lifting. We're going to pull up the old chat, Skidooski, G-Ski, Skidiski. All right, here we go. Present, share screen. And we're going to ask the question, and we'll see what we get. It's doing some thinking. Has been studied for potential antidepressant effects, and there are some evidence suggesting it maybe alleviates symptoms. And there's a mechanism of action, clinical evidence. All right, so it looks like there are some potential benefits from it. In that sense, do your own research. Go over to Examine, check it out. There's really no harm in trying it if it seems reasonable for you. Make sure your vitamin D is good. I would check out, what was I going to say? I forgot creatine is good for mental focus and acuity and that sort of stuff. It might have some potential brain advantage. I don't know. That might benefit, from a depression standpoint. I don't know. That's just speculation. And ashwagandha can work sometimes with stress. So I would check out that as well. I'm no expert in supplementation, but I would start with those. Does back training impact leg training the day after? It can, depending on the exercise structure. If I do free weight movements for both legs and back, bent rows, crocs, squats, it can, depending on the exercise structure. You might have the biggest risk is potentially lower back stress going into squats and RDLs. So just use your best judgment, adjust as needed, and maybe switch some things around. Big Joe B, I'll be hitting my push C in an hour. Thank you for being a fantastic coach. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate working with you. You're always thorough and insightful, and I always look forward to seeing what you have on any given day. Thank you. Do you think it's a good baseline diet setup? 1 gram protein per body weight. I don't do things based off body weight. That's very arbitrary. It can work okay for normal, more reasonable weight individuals, but there's a high variance of calorie intake based on body weight. You can have a 150-pound lifter that can gain at 2,600 and a 150-pound lifter that can gain at 5,000. So I don't like doing things off body weight. You have to set up a calorie intake and structure a reasonable balance of macronutrients and adjust from there. Would you do the bulldozer, which is a rest pause protocol on the Larson press? Yeah, absolutely. There's no downside. Racking and unracking on a bench aren't that taxing, so that's super reasonable. Patty says, thanks, thank you. We are all going to die, though, but I get your point. So leg day before back. There's no... It's dependent on exercises. If you're doing back day with deadlifts and leg day with squats, I really wouldn't put them back to back. It really, really, really depends on exercise structure. What I would say is check out my book, Massive Omnibus, or check out any of my programs on here. I give them all away for free. Check out the structure. And at the end of the day, you have to adjust things in a way that fits you, that allows you to recover, that doesn't beat up the body. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for tuning in to Massive Iron Live, another Friday crushed. I hope you guys have a great weekend and a spooky dookie, whatever your spookiness is. We got more questions coming in, so I will wrap them up. Before I do so, guys, I want you to please head over to Instagram. Follow me on Instagram at Ben the Barman. I'd love to connect with you. And please check out my website. If you lift, and you do, there's an apparel tab over there. I have tons and tons of t-shirt ideas. Come get you some lifting gear. I only make a couple bucks off the shirts, but why not wear something massive? Also, if you want coaching, check out the coaching tab. Check out my book, Omnibus, Massive Omnibus. Search Omnibus. There's over 2,000 pages of information. 2,000 pages of information. You can also check out Search Custom for a custom workout. And if you want, you can do a phone consult. All right, we got a few more questions. What's your suggestion for someone to set up their baseline calories? If you're not sure, I would say eat normally for 5 days. Weigh yourself first thing in the morning. Let's try to find a calorie intake that's not causing any weight gain. That's the best way to do it. But you have to be patient, and you have to not just make big wild swings in your calorie intake based off, 1 or 2 days. Have a great week of lifting Team Massive. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys just have a wonderful rest of October, and let's tear things up.
It's not almost over. It's not almost over. You're not almost there. You're not almost there. You're not almost there.